Okay, we're recording. This is Wrong Speed Record Chat number 49. We have Conan Neutron. How's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me on. These are great. This is the kind of nerdery that I both endorse and embody.
Good. Where are you?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And that is
so home today, of De Kreutzen, Violent Femmes, lots of beer. If I had a hi-fi.
Oh, I love that De Kreutzen album. That first De Kreutzen album, so good.
Yeah.
So it's 6 o'clock in the evening here. What time is it there?
It just turned noon here, like about 20 seconds ago. Yeah, that's always weird when you're organizing something from across the pond, as they say, that it's getting the times right, where it's like, well, if I could do it this time, but that'll be like 4:30 in the AM for you. Yeah, that doesn't really work for me. Like,
no, because you did offer something like 1 AM for me.
Yeah, you're like, I'm good. Well, my favorite is Australia, because be like, oh, okay, so it's like Thursday 8 Eastern, 7 Central, and Melbourne it's like noon.
Yeah,
like, oh wow, the next day. It's like not even that. It's like, oh right, because like the dateline and everything. So it's like, okay, let's make sure we're talking about the same day here. And I've had to do that Protonic a few times. I mean, I got this is going to be the weirdest name drop ever, but I had to have Mick Harvey of the Birthday Party and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds correct my time zone translations, which he was correct. I was like, wow, this is a beautiful, humbling moment and very bizarre. And I'll also explain it to a founding father. But yeah, go ahead.
So I'm a total amateur at this in comparison with yourself. So Conan here does the Protonic reversal. I struggle to say it. Protonic reversal podcast, radio, YouTube chat with a whole pile of splendid guests. You're up to number 255.
That's right. Yeah, actually, technically speaking, if you're counting at the time of this recording, if you're counting patron only episodes, 260, because it goes to the patrons first, and then goes to the regular feed afterwards. Like there's no exclusivity. It's very proletariat that way. Like it's sort of like, doesn't cost you anything. You get the same show no matter what. But the way I reconcile this, and I reconcile this when I got unemployed during COVID, because it was sort of like, well, Christ, they need something to do that keeps the lights on. The big thing that with the patron for Protonic is you get early access. So you get like episodes basically as soon as there's a file, warts and all, to be put out there. There really isn't a lot of editing with the show, so like what you get on the patron feed is not that much different than what the rest of the world gets. But then it goes out to the rest of the podcast world at a later time, and YouTube's usually the last thing. That was almost like I had been doing episodes with video just because, like, wow, it sure would be nice to see another human being's face for a while. And then it was like, well, I got these video files. I guess maybe I'll put them up on YouTube. And it's actually been, as you well know, there's a whole other audience for it that, for whatever reason, like the idea of watching a YouTube video that's audio only, like, is kind of a mind blower to me. But some people like doing it. So, okay.
Well, I only put this on YouTube because I don't know how to do the other. But the other day, I saw someone commented on the Twitter forum the other day that if you have a computer phone, and I've realised that virtually everyone does nowadays. I'm outlier in this world when not owning one. It turns out that if you have the YouTube thing playing and then you put another thing on, the YouTube thing stops.
Yeah, unless you pay them for a subscription.
I had no idea, and it is July 2021. I had absolutely no idea that this was the case. He likes listening to it, but it was no idea.
Yeah, so, well, a lot of people do that. Mrs. Neutron, Lindsay, is an avid YouTuber. She's always watching the YouTubes, and she pays for those things so she can gallivant and do other stuff while it's playing. Me, I'm less of a that's less for me, but I appreciate that like all this stuff's easier. Like when I started Protonic, none of this stuff existed. None of it. Like, so it's kind of funny being like sort of this inadvertent Cro-Magnon man of podcasting that like, all my solutions were hardware solutions. There wasn't this software that everyone's, oh, well, you should use this. I'm like, that didn't exist till a year ago. Like, I understand you started your show a year ago, pejorative you, not you, although I think that's also true. But I didn't have that option. Like I had to like make my own workflow that works. And I'm not saying it's good or bad or whatever. It's just that 7 years going on 8 years, pretty consistent. There's fans, there's detractors, whatever. But
yeah,
I'm making the show that I wanted to hear.
Yeah, well, you need the haters out there as well, though, don't you?
Well, whatever. You can cater to the haters. That's for sure. Like, I mean, whatever.
Here's a couple of people you've interviewed.
Beautiful.
I've dragged out a couple of records for the hell of it. I always bring this one out. Every time I get an opportunity, I bring out this dry.
Yeah, man. I had the t-shirt of that for a while too. That's got If It Kills You, which is one of my favorite tunes of theirs. I think sorry, I didn't mean to take it.
No. Just Rick Froberg is one of the guests you've had. So
one of my favorite singers of all time. He also, after about 10 years of cajoling him to do so, I can't believe the first record on my show is one of mine, but he did the artwork for The Art of Murder, awesome. Which is the second Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends record, most people's favorite, and I think 6 copies away from being out of print finally. So it's like the most popular of the bunch of them. But for me, it was a confluence of, I just love that dude's music so much, but I love his art so much. So it was like a really big deal for him to do that. And like, I think it turned out fantastically. And I mean, Jehu is one of my favorite bands of all time. I've told the story of going to see Drive Like Jehu at the San Diego amphitheater that has an organ built into it. And this Dr. Carol Williams, I think is her name. Like they did, it was an organ performance on the organ, and then Drive Like Jehu played, and I was there with like 5,000 other people in this park in San Diego, being like, "What is this going to be?" Because I never saw them the first time. I got into them too late. By the time I got into them, like it was like 2 months after their last time through the Bay Area. So like I was too late to the game with it. But then afterwards, I was like, this is like my favorite band. I think Yank Cram is a perfect record, pretty much, and first record's great as well. I mean, and like, Bullet Train to Vegas, come on,
no, right?
Fuck out of here, it's great.
Yeah, this is on Headhunter Records over here.
Yeah, it is Headhunter. Yeah. Well, Headhunter, with Cargo as well, and so that's classic, that era, indie rock stuff, right?
For us it was Sub Pop over there, or Glitter Beat or Glitter House over here, classic sort of.
Yes.
This band, and by the way, this is a sticker that comes up in conversation a lot. I always keep them on. It's from the Music and Video Exchange, which is a secondhand shop in London. You can't peel them off without skinning the whole sleeve, so you keep them on.
Yeah. And I'm glad you pulled this up because I would have liked to have put that like for my selections, but I have we have these. They're like you put the record into a thing and it goes on the wall, like a record frame. That's one of the ones we have up on the wall. Yeah. So I have the vinyl, but the jacket is up on the wall because it's actually, I think it's one of the best album art of all time. Like it's a huge favorite. I mean, that band is like, that was a big deal for me. That band helped change my world. And yeah, the fact that I had a Gang of Four on the show is pretty, wow. Yeah. I must be doing something okay, right?
Yeah, well, no, my God, yeah, you've had some, this is what I mean, 255 episodes and 260, sorry, and some solid guests. Here's one. This is a band not so well known, but I really, really, really love this record. And I've become quite friendly with the bass player, but only online. I've met him once actually. They played in Bristol, and it's Kowloon Walled City.
Kowloon, yes. Wow, yeah. So I've had Scott on twice, and Johnny was on the John Howell was on the first time. Yeah, great record. That's my favorite Kowloon record, actually. So those guys. So I'm from Oakland, and when those guys were first starting out, well, first of all, anyone that kind of says that they were down with Kowloon from the start is probably a liar, or someone that like I know personally that like was there, because the last Replicator show, my old band, we had been around like as an active concern, touring and making records for like 8 years, and we did this big dumb last show. It's not dumb, but like dumb and just the fact it's ridiculous, with 2 sets, and for the people that was for, and we asked Kowloon Walled City to open because they were kind of like, I think it was like their 6 or 7 show, and we liked them a lot, especially Ben. Ben, to credit where credit's due, Ben is the one that was like, my friend Scott's band, Kowloon Walled City, is really good. I'm like, that's a cool name. And and that was before John Howell played with them. That's Jason Pace was still playing with them. So that was Turk Taylor and Jones. It was actually before Turk Taylor and Jones came out, I think. Anyway, point of fact is that Kowloon Walled City opened that show, and we're obviously crushing and fantastic and amazing, but it still was like probably another year. Like there were people outside when they played. I'm like, you guys are fools. Yeah. You need to like go see this band. They're great. But then like, I think by the time next time I saw them was with a young Helms Alee. I think it was the first Helms Alee Bay Area show. And people were starting to catch on then. And then after that, it's like people got it. How brilliant, absolutely genius they are. And just the best dudes as well.
Yeah. Well, they played played basically a little pub in Bristol, which is
really
an hour north of me. It only holds 100 people. It was a couple of years ago, and I popped in on the way home from doing something else to say hi. And I love this record. It's kind of I'm gonna link it to this in a second.
Oh, great!
But I think sound wise, it's like it crosses Codeine with, because it's quite sad. Isn't it?
It is. It's heavy, but it's like there's but the weight is also emotional, like with that record. Like it's very like it's a hard, man, that is a hard beam to balance on. And they do it really well. Like it's, I mean, all respect. And that's one of the reasons I think why it's my favorite of theirs.
Yeah.
And it's not to say they don't, obviously Container Ships is great. I mean, they haven't made a bad record.
Yeah.
But like that one is the one that like, I mean, and there's some, I always attribute it to Justin Trosper, like, some kind of unwound isms like in there as well, where you get those weird little minor chords and stuff. And it's just, I even messaged Scott. Well, whatever, nobody cares. I was gonna I've made the observation about it being like sad, and that but it kind of like still like right in that line of just
it's
man,
a great
one step this way, one step that way. It's a bummer, and in a bad way.
Yeah, so if anyone's not got this, get it. I don't know how easy it is to get in this country. Some certain little distros got it, like Superfine, a few others, which is where I got it from. I don't actually know if it got distributed here or whether it's just a pain in the ass and expensive now, but it's a brilliant.
I would hope that Chaos Control has copies. I don't know though. I haven't looked. I'm just talking out of my ass.
Yeah, but great record. Great record.
I mean, he seems to have everything else. So,
so let's go to Codeine. Then you spoke to someone from
Codeine. Yes. We're just ours.
Love this record. But,
yeah, and it's
but
there's kind of,
I don't like to listen to it because it's too sad.
That is a record that you don't throw on all the time.
No.
But when you do, it scratches the right itch. I was pretty stoked that when I had Chris on that he did a pretty deep dive with Codeine with me, because I was like, hey, I'm going to like, it could be an alarming amount of time to you of how much I want to talk about Codeine, but that band is very important to me.
Yeah,
but I got it, and like it's there's things I learned having them on that I was like, I had no idea, because they were an East Coast band,
right?
And again, just like Jehu, by the time I found out about them, went long over. Yeah. Right. So I had no frame of reference other than the records of being like, wow, this is powerful. This is like, wow, crazy.
Yeah. If over here, I think a lot of people found out about them through I don't have the second one. Sub Pop released videos over here.
Oh sure, yeah.
And I've mentioned this before, but most people over here, certainly from my line of world, didn't have MTV and didn't have any form of video thing on telly on any channel whatsoever. So we had to buy this crap.
Well, and it's hard to describe to younger fans, of the show or the band, whatever, just what a big deal it was that for at least like a 2 to 3 year period, like the freaks got in. Yeah. Right. And that was MTV over here, whereas it was like, wow, you could like go watch 120 minutes and see a video by Tad. Yeah. Or like Babes in Toyland and be like, what is this? This is rad. And then
they just needed to make the video, didn't they? They needed to make the video and it would get put on.
Yeah. And it was, it was a weird, very brief moment of time that they allowed the freaks in before they decided that, oh, we can make our own bands that sound like this.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's how I found out about Codeine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're not.
I didn't even think about that because MTV is so formative. Whether it's like, okay, sure, MTV get off the air. If you talk to like my friend Keith from Decorate and like, he's had some pretty hilarious MTV rants because they were around like during the whole run, like in the 80s and stuff, when it's like, oh, now we're doing Michael Jackson, like, and in that same way, there was that sort of like, well, we'll put on, how did Devo get on? Well, they happened to make a brilliant video when they would just put any old thing on, like, oh, this is interesting, throw that on. Yeah. But yeah, all the salty old punk rockers have like I don't, and don't get me wrong, I knew MTV was pretty merch to begin with, but like there was still shows and things that would like slip through. You're like, wow, that's like, I'll never forget seeing Shudder to Think, the X-French t-shirt video, which is brilliant. And I think I even like opined to Craig both times. I think I even opined about how unearthly that video was to me. I'm like, what's happening? Like, what is that? Like, this is crazy. And like, it made me want to see it again. But since I didn't have one of the VHS of it, I just wait for it to come on again. Like, what was that band's name? Oh, I forgot. It's one with the weird bald guy in the room.
Yeah. So you spoke to a fella from this, and this is
I certainly did. Yeah.
This is a band that divided a lot of people, but if you got them, you really got them over here anyway.
Well, and then I don't know how big the Dismemberment Plan was over there.
Oh yeah, no, I've got records by them.
Well, and I like the first record EP, and I actually think Emergency Night is really good as well. I mean, they had a really good run, but I was like, first time I heard them, I was like, oh, these dudes like Shudder to Think a lot. And they were the first ones to admit it too. But great band as well. I mean, Shudder to Think, like Shudder to Think managed to be weird as hell. Like all of their song structure, like they do things like that objectively makes no sense, but have incredible pop hooks as well. And Craig's just such a fantastic singer that like if you put together the constituent parts, it shouldn't work, but it's brilliant. Every part of it's brilliant.
Like when you ask these people to come on your show, are they like, yes? Or do you need to do any more convincing?
That's actually a pretty good question. It depends on the person. So the things that happened the last year that's really crazy is people are like, oh yeah, I listen all the time, and I'm like, yeah, wow, okay, great, okay, talk to you Thursday. In some cases, it's personal recommendations. There's been a few people that for me are like musical icons, yeah, but like love the show and believe in what it does, and so they've talked to people that maybe are like that are friends of theirs that are maybe they don't know from it, but like, oh no, Conan's cool, like this will be good, you should do this for these reasons, etc., etc. It's very rarely like cold calling, but I'm not above it. Like I'll random Instagram DM or something and Sometimes that'll work out nicely. What happens more often than not, since the listenership has grown so much in the last year, sometimes people will be like, hey, you should get so and so on. I'm like, sure. How do I get a hold of them? A good example is when I had Mike Hard from the God Bullies on. Johnny, who plays in They Never Sleep, and played in Thrall with him, I think too, if I remember correctly, suggested it. I'm like, yes. And Mike Hard's like a Luddite, pretty much. Like he's doesn't like has a computer but only barely, like he's that kind of guy. So I was like, I would love to talk to Mike Hard. Hell yeah, let's do it. And so he hooked it up. And like so people will approach me about that kind of stuff. If it makes sense for the show, I'm 100% into it.
Yeah.
And then there's people that like I was trying for Mick Harvey for Christ on a crutch, a year and a half, probably, something along those lines. I think the one that took the longest was Ian MacKay. And that was I mean, everybody wants a piece of that dude, right? So of course. And then when we did, I thought it was good. I think he's a guy that if you have a personally established relationship with him, I think it's probably going to be a different type of show. Yeah. And so I don't like, I've met him. We've hung out socially, but it's like, all right, I'm Conan Neutron. You're Ian fucking MacKay. like there's a gradation of difference here. But that one was probably the longest to put together. John Reese agreed to be in the show like 5 years ago, and we still haven't done it.
Right. Yeah.
And then I told that to Froberg, and he's like, "Oh, you want me to text him?" I'm like, "Yes, I do. Please."
do you ever get nervous? Do you ever get nervous with people?
Rarely. I'm not gonna say never. I don't get nervous that I think I'm gonna do that. Like I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna say. Sometimes there's so much stuff that I want to get to, and so many things I want to approach that like I kind of like have like a game plan mapped out and of what I want to cover. I'm just worried that I'm not gonna be able to land it, or that like it won't be an engaged. Like I'm not interested in somebody doing a press junket. No. Like that has no interest to me whatsoever. That's not the show. That's not what the show's strength is. You can do that on anybody's show. Like that don't come on Protonic for that. So the first time Jerry Casale from Devo was on, that was a big deal for me, because that's always like, oh, I feel like I've been leading up to this my entire life. Like my entire, like I'm such a Devo obsessive, and like when I think it was MySpace had a political affiliation, religious affiliation. Political affiliation, I put Fugazi, and religious affiliation, I said Devo. Okay. Like, so because that's how into it I was, and I just wanted to, I wanted it to be. There was a thing I wanted to be, because it was like Jerry Casale is like the dark. Everyone knows Mark. Mark is the people that like your mom is gonna know from Devo, right. But Jerry is like the dark one of the two of them, and to me it's like it's like almost. It's an overused phrase, but like the Lennon McCartney-esque-ness of, have to admit it's getting better, can't get much worse. That like right, yeah. On a way different, more brutal level, that's Mark and Jerry. And I really wanted that to go a certain way and be a certain thing. And the fact that it was, and that other people that are fans were like, wow, that was great. And that like at the end of it, Joe, I kid you not, he was like, hey, let me know when to come back on again. I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, great. And so like he's been on like a couple times since then, and like that was a big deal for me. Now, but with as far as like, look, if you do something enough, you know what you can do, and you know what is both inside and outside your wheelhouse. So I have a certain style. It drives some people up the wall. Some people love it. Some people are indifferent to it. But whether they go ahead.
What do you think? What do you think irritates people?
Well, all right. Some people think that quote unquote interviews are ask a question, somebody gives a full and complete answer. Ask another question, somebody gives a full and complete answer. that's not what it is necessarily with me. Like it's more of a conversation. There's interjections, there's observations, et cetera, et cetera. It's a back and forth. You know, it's a little bit bip, 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 pop, 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 and that drives some people up the wall. Now, here's what I'm saying. That's like Terry Gross. Terry Gross from Fresh Air. That works great for Terry Gross.
Right.
Doesn't work great for Conan Neutron. That's not what I do. And when people make observations like that, it's sort of like, I want your show to be more like other shows.
Yeah.
Then listen to other shows.
yeah.
It's not what I do. And to a certain degree, it's like, how am I going to explain that other than say that? It's like, I get it. Like if you, so, and what happens a lot is people will come in for one episode. People are like, oh, I only came in to listen to Mark Lanigan. Okay. And this guy's got an annoying laugh. Well, first of all, fuck you. Secondly, that's not something that I do. That's something that is part of me. So like, I can't change that. So that's a shitty observation. Also, like Lanigan had a great time. Lanigan had a great time with the show. You think they should have gone somewhere else. Great. Let's hear your show.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to do it. Like, you think you can do better? Go right ahead. Show me up.
The thing is, to relate it to music, like it's the same when people say, I preferred your early stuff. Do you know, just listen to the early stuff. Like, you don't need to like follow it. Just go back to the first couple of records. It's fine, and find some other band, whatever.
Yeah, they're still there.
Yeah, exactly.
They're still there. You can still listen to them, whatever. And same thing. I've had people come to me and be like, I really, just Replicator's it. Like, I don't really want to hear the other stuff. Like, well, great. Listen to Replicator then. Like I'm if you're interested, a lot of people think that what I'm doing now is my best stuff. I certainly do, but of course I do. You're welcome to come along. If you want to say stuck in like that 8-year time period, good on you. What am I going to,
we'll get to your bands in.
Oh no,
we're getting to your bands in 2 records time. Okay, so you had, this must have been one of the heroes of the show, right?
Yeah, man, Greg's what a cool guy. Like, and that's one of the ones that I was there was so much to cover too that like I wanted to get that right. And I moreover than just get it for me, I wanted to make sure everyone else got what they needed out of it. And I think that that's the rare example where I love that band, but I came to it kind of late in life, like sort of late 20s probably, something. And so like already kind of knew all the bands that like were inspired by them, et cetera, et cetera. And my first thought was like, wow, these records sound weird. Like what is it? And I was like, oh, Spot. Okay. That makes sense. But then like I kept listening to them, like, oh no, these are really cool. And so I wanted that to be engaged, but not worshipful. If that makes sense. And the reason why I say that's because with the Huskers, it's just like with anything Mike Patton or like, there's a certain number of types of musician where they get a lot of just like, I've referred to the Chris Farley SNL bit where he's like, hey, that one thing you do? Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, that other thing you do? Oh yeah, that's really great. Like, I don't want it to be that, like that's not like, yeah, they're obviously they changed music, man. Like, it's a big deal, but yeah, that's our starting position.
Yeah.
Let's get into like the fact that he broke the news about that live record coming out. I'm like, wow. Okay, fantastic. That sounds okay. Yeah, all right. I'll be looking into that, Mr. Norton. Thank you.
Yeah. Like,
another thing with that one that blew me away is like he stopped playing music for like a long period of time. Yeah. And I've seen that in a few of the episodes where it's like, oh, you just stopped? How did you do that? Like how and you didn't miss it? And then like, oh, then I came back. I'm like, it's just like, are you Jack the Ripper? Like, I mean, how do you like
serial killing, stopping.
Yeah, I mean, like it blows my mind because I'm not wired that way. But it's not the first time. Ray Washam, drummer for Scratch Acid and the unfortunately named second Steve Albini band before Shellac, and Digits and Comb and.
What was that all about?
Sidebar for that. Ray Washam also stopped and I'm like you're one of like that era's like amazing drummers. Like you push drumming forward and you just stopped. It's like Miles Davis being like, I paint now. All right.
Captain Beefheart did.
Yeah, exactly. Same deal. Exactly. Yeah. I was gonna say I gotta pick a different icon, I guess. Well, and then with of course I'm talking about Rape Man. A nice moment on the show that a bunch of people, especially female listeners, have said to me is when I had Steve on. It wasn't the most recent time, but the time before that, I asked him about that, and I realized we had never talked about it. And like his answer was very, very interesting and very cool, and I thought it was very honest. And I got a lot of like that's something where sometimes you're like you put these things out in the world, and you're like, all right, it's out there. Maybe someone's listening to it, maybe they're not. Who knows? But like the amount of responses I got of just being, hey, thank you for asking that. And I was like, oh, well, I was curious because I really hadn't seen it addressed anywhere. And like, for fuck's sake, it's called Rape Man.
Yeah.
I mean, right. How do you deal with that in 2021 or 2020, whatever it was? So I wasn't like, and I felt like it wasn't some great epiphany or something, but I think because, well, I mean, Steve's a very open dude, so probably if anyone had thought to ask him that way, they probably would have gotten it. But like we had an established relationship, he'd been on the show a couple times, and that's a good example of kind of like looking at your history and dealing with it honestly.
Yeah,
and that's, I don't know. It's not like I'm sitting here, I'm going to hold them to account or anything along those lines. But I thought that was a nice moment, and that was something that I had questions about it.
Yeah, it must have come from a time as well where even though Big Black were big or relatively big, they must have even then thought nothing will go beyond our world. Like the internet wasn't, nothing was there, and it's just going to sit in our little world. We're not going to make it big, but whatever, 5,000 people will buy this record, and then that'll be the end of it. But everything's got an afterlife now.
Right. Wait, nobody could have predicted the fact that stuff will just lives on for forever on the internet now.
Yeah.
But also I think that and Ray hated the name, by the way, which is awesome. Because like I was like I think it was the Florists, I think is one of the band names that was bandied about. Which is like, okay, that's all right. Oh, I guess that sounds cute. But it's almost like a dare to like I dare you to like this band with that band name. And I think that knowing, and this is conjecture, but like that knowing Steve Albini at that time, that might have, the prickliness of it might have been a feature, not a bug.
Yeah. His reviews and whatnot were.
Yeah, I mean, it was a standoffish dude, and yeah, again, if you call your band Rape Man, you're pretty much daring someone to like it, right?
Exactly. So the last one I want to mention, last guest, before we move on to other things, because
sorry, that was supposed to be about Greg Norton. My bad.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I like it, but it's he wasn't on this record. He joined them a year or two later, and then I've got a feeling he only did either 1 or 2 albums with them and left. And the reason I'm mentioning this was episode 3.
I know who you're gonna bring up.
And we met him. He was just hanging out with
Andrew.
Tim from so it's Andrew, who was briefly in Torch, not on this record, 1 or 2 after, and for a few years. And
also from the very genius Tilts as well.
Great
which is one of the most underrated rock records of the past 10 years.
It's a brilliant record. And the reason I'm just bringing him up is because I do this other band, it's like Henry Blacko, which is like a little 3-piece, and we were recording before we'd played any gigs. We were recording.
I pulled that one too, by the way. It's the die cut version. I don't know if you have the die cut version or not, but
unfortunately,
it's
I do.
Got the real freaking. Hold on, this is where the depth of field. Oh shit.
Yeah, exactly the same. Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, it's like here's a hey y'all, here's a diorama.
Oh no, mine doesn't do that. What the hell?
Yeah, so this is the gatefold one.
Oh yeah,
and
hold on, I had it up the wrong way.
Yeah, you got it. Well, I almost dropped the record like an asshole.
Yeah, I took it. Yeah, there it is. But it's absolutely ridiculous. If you're running a record label and they say this, you're like, oh man.
Yeah. Hey, we want the layup to be like a Lord of the Rings diorama. Okay, sure.
And it's on. Mine's on some form of. Can't see it probably, but like some form of purple.
Oh, is it? I think. Well, mine's just the black one, but I think it's 180 gram. Let me fact check that though.
Can you weigh it with your hand? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. Shit, it's only 177.
Yeah. A little light.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, just the diorama crap would be good enough, but then there's also like the cutout where it shows through.
Yeah.
Like, this is. Look, I know from absurd packaging, but this is one of the most like this can't have made a dime.
No.
You know what I mean? Like this, there's no way. It's amazing.
No, this is the Blue Monday of US.
Yeah, they're still paying for it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think it's funny because I pulled that one, but that was one of my B-list ones of like, well, I think that's a cool looking record, so I'll pull that one.
Yeah, and it's
anyway, but this is about Andrew. This isn't about Juan, who's on that one. Andrew from Tilts as well.
So
Riddle of Steel, Dead Now.
Yeah. So the other band we do a 3-piece. We're called Henry Blacko. We're just like a noisy rock thing, and we hadn't played a single gig or anything. Rue, the drummer, had never played live. He'd learnt the drums purely for the band because he's Tim's brother.
Okay.
And we're down recording. Tim Cedar from Chimp is recording us down in Dropout, and he's just hanging out with this American guy in the room. And it's Andrew who's just joined Torch, I think, at that point, like about within a year or so. So this is 2013-ish, give or take.
Right before Harmonicraft and after Songs for Singles, because Songs for Singles it is a 3-piece, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so around that time. And I just mention it because, and I want you to talk about him because I found him to be the most lovely bloke.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, he's a great dude. I mean, I had the first theme song for Platonic Reversal was actually a Tilt song. So he was on, episode 3. And then I think he came on, we came on years later. I don't remember the exact episode number, but it was after him leaving Torch and kind of like right as he was starting Dead Now, I think, if I remember correctly. So it had to have been somewhat recently. But yeah, he told a great story about when he got when the bat pissed in his eye on tour. So they have this oh god, it's been years, I don't remember all the details, but like he was staying at this place and like well, I guess it's a short story. A bat pissed in his eye and he had to go to the hospital and like get like shots and stuff like that. But they had I have a t-shirt somewhere. They had a Torch t-shirt that it was like the old school Batman logo, but like the eye was yellow. So if you knew, it was like, oh, that's great. It's hilarious.
So for a bat to piss in your eye, where do you need to be? Underneath the bat, I assume. But
how did this? Yeah, tell me this story from beginning, middle to end.
You're in a cave. Is he in a cave? Do you think?
It was apparently an old house. And I don't remember all the details, but yeah, apparently it was like an old house and they were staying there on tour maybe, and something disturbed this bat, and this bat apparently had to go, and just Bob's your uncle, as they say.
Yeah. So, but so the thing is, so he's down there watching us record. And like we're super nervous because we've never played live and we're recording in secret. Really, we didn't want anyone to know.
Sure,
so he was the first person to ever see Henry Blacko play live.
Oh, how funny!
And then a year later, we do a UK tour with Torch.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he hooks that up somehow, and we just become friends. At least at that time, and still online. I know he makes pedals and whatnot now, from what I can tell.
He does. They're very good too, and amps as well, Acorn amps.
Yeah.
I actually, well, he has the I could not justify purchasing one, but he has the Mind Killer, which is the pedal it's got the Kyle MacLachlan from Dune, like that, it eyes light up and stuff. It's a fantastic pedal, but I don't need it, man. Like I don't need any more. Like I have a 1 in 1 out policy for my pedal board that I've have this tortured logic that I've been that I've been able to like move things in, which is it's now changed to, well, it still has to fit in this road case.
Right. Okay.
So then that's led to like getting a couple like of little micro pedals and stuff, things along those lines. And but it's good because it's made me question the intrinsic value of having something available, whether it's for live or recording's obviously different, but it's made me make some tough decisions. And then ultimately that's been good because you see people that have the they have like the coffin, and it's like, oh Lord, we're in for it now.
The caveat for that is I think I'll accept it if it's a two-piece.
Oh, if you're a two-piece,
yeah.
There's this brilliant band from Toronto called Not Of.
Right.
Just drums and guitar, and like he's got like a coffin plus, but it's genius. They're fantastic. Actually, their record's great too. I didn't pull it, but that's all the way up there. I'm not gonna go get it, but yeah, you get a pass for that. And there's certain people like Josh from Shiner where it's like, okay, you're actually using all this stuff and you're being very like inventive. But my favorite is when you can see someone with some local band that here comes the trash talk. Some local band that's like playing support and they have a coffin. It's like, oh, here we go. And then they hit like 2 of them. And it's like, you have like $4,000 in pedals on this board. Why?
This who was I talking to? A previous episode where we talk about, who is it? I think it's Stuart from Mogwai. There we go. We're talking to him about this thing and about how bands get certain sounds. And it's to do with like what's that you can go on a website where you can look at guitarist setups, right? And you can go,
yeah, is it well, they're not sponsoring you, so I won't mention the name, but there's like 2 or 3 sites that do that, but there's and I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, so I think that people go on and go, okay, I want to sound like Kevin Shields, right?
Yeah.
And like he has 100 million pedals.
Yeah.
But he properly sounds like Kevin Shields and it sounds awesome.
Right. And he's the guy that can pull it off and it justifies all these coffins everywhere, right?
Yeah. And then, but really they just sound like absolute arse. You just think,
yeah.
It's not working.
Well, yeah, it doesn't help what you play into it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's like, hey, let's look at Malcolm Young's sound. It's like one of the best sounds in rock and roll. Oh, he just plugs straight into the amp, huh? All right.
Well, Ian MacKay's the same, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just straight. And I kid you not, every band I've been in, that's how I've always started. I'm like, I'm just gonna go straight into the amp on this one.
Yeah.
But I really need to have a tuning pedal.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have a boost of some kind, and then just scope creep. But every time I'm like, this is the one.
Yeah.
Plugging straight in. Fuck everything.
No.
Never lasts.
No. Well, that was the thing with Stuart was talking about the Edge.
Yeah, we that was great. Yeah. Well, as evidenced by the that movie with him and Jack White and Jimmy Page, where he's just like it just kind of goes on like that, really, and it's like, oh, that's yes, it does. So, yes, it does. The Edge.
Let's talk about your bands then.
If we must.
Well, you don't. Okay, you don't have to. God. So, and the Secret Friends. Talk to me about the Secret Friends. The drummer is Dale Crover from Melvins.
Yes.
Tony Ash as well, so he's a 3-piece. Recently did a 12 split 7-inch album that turns into a gatefold thing. Like, there's projects.
Yeah. No, so that's maybe the dumbest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Yeah, Protons and Electrons. Yeah, so I mean, I guess like, so Reader's Digest version of Secret Friends origin story. Old band was kind of on the rocks. They were moving more towards writing together in the room. I was kind of starting to like demo stuff on my own. Want to see if I could make a record, if it'd be any good. Talked to Toshi Kasai, who's a brilliant engineer, producer guy who had worked with before. He was like, these songs are good. We should do this. Band's as good as its drummer, so I made a long list of drummers, expecting to, as everyone said no, I would kind of go down the list for all the different people that I could play with, and struck gold the first time, so knocked me over with a feather. And then because I knew it was going to be like a rock band informed from like post punk and noise rock and all that. Tony Ash, who we were label mates at the time with Trophy Wives, not just best dude award winner, but like just like one of my favorite rock bass players. Like from that, just like, you know, laying it down, Tracy Pugh style almost, you know, like so it was, that's what it was. I didn't expect it to be anything. I didn't know if it was gonna be, I didn't even know it was gonna be any damn good, but worked well. Did it again, did it better, and continued to do it. And then yes, I have this idea. I have a case of them over here.
Yeah, go get the case. Go get the case.
Of doing a series of split singles called Protons and Electrons, because protons, electrons, neutrons make the atom. So all these 7 inches, right? We had this is Litany of Grievances. This is Atom 1, and the other side, Trophy Wives. So that's Tony on the other side, because the idea was it would be people that are either in the band, recorded or live, or there's some important connection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these different 7 inches, you know, Atom 2 for this one. If you notice, there's now like 2. The electron field changes as it goes. All these are beautifully hand printed by the genius Chris Williams from Maple State and Plastic Flame Press. That one's not going to show up too well in this lighting. But anyway, there's 12 of these things, right? And all of them have other people in the band that either play in the live act or, you know, record with it. But there's some connection. And the reason why is because everything happens as a community, right? So this music existing didn't come out of a vacuum. Yeah, my name's on the masthead. My name's on the marquee. And it's ultimately, I'm the one like, you know, writing these songs, but it doesn't happen in a vacuum. So the idea would be as an expression of community to put out these splits that like, hey, if you like this, chances are you might like the thing on the other side. And all these different songs were, some of them were poppy, some of them were heavy, some of them were kind of weird, some, you know, whatever they needed to do, they had to get in, they had to get out. You know why? Because it's a 7-inch and you don't have that much room to get your genius across. And so that was a fascinating way to write, because I had never written that way. Like as time has gone on, I've grown less and less patient with long songs.
Yeah.
Like I just find it harder and harder to justify them. But that was really good because it allowed to kind of stretch some muscles of, well, let's try doing a song like this. Oh, that sounds pretty good. Okay, right on. And then ultimately it was, I have a copy. Hold on. After all was said and done, a couple of years later, then it came together as a compilation, which is a 2 LP compilation. Beautiful gatefold here. And one of the records is a Secret Friends record. So this guy, which is Protons. So this is all 12 of them together as one record. And then the other side, this is my copy, so it's already dog-eared to shit. Fuck it, I'll do it later. The other side is a cool compilation. So this is all the other bands, 12 of them, you know, Cartographers in there, which is that Ben and Chris from Replicators current band, and like I said, Trophy Wives, Enonagons on here, God Eaters, Turbo Lightning, Rally, Cheap Sleeves, so on and so on and so on. Dale Crover band, that's Dale doing a it's a, well, I guess you call it a medley of the Who Sell Out as one song.
Okay.
Which is pretty great. If you know that record, it's amazing. I know people that are like, that's a weird song. I'm like, so you don't listen to the Who then?
No, I don't.
But anyway, the point is apparently to put the most amount of effort possible to make the most niche item and make the least money. But it's absolutely for the people that it's for. And again, probably the dumbest thing I've ever done my entire life, but
it's awesome.
Commitment to the bit.
like that's what it's for, though. That's what all this shit's for, right? Doing interesting things. You can't just do the same thing over and over.
Everyone I know who ran a label is like, you're crazy, don't do that.
Oh, you're crazy. No one's saying you're sane. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. I was like, I know, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
No, but it's awesome. It's awesome. And then let's talk. So let's talk about Learning Curve Records, which is
probably... Dark Passengers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there has to be a copy around here somewhere. You would think I would have a copy around here. Oh, here we go. So all the rest of the art for all the records is very, for lack of a better term, cartoony, like bright colors, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a record about depression and mental health, like serious business. And so my only direction was it needs to look very different than all the rest. So this is Dark Passengers. Obviously, it's very, very different looking, very austere, almost looks like a Joy Division or something, right? And really beautiful artwork by Mike Cobra, who did a really amazing job on it. And again, this is another example of just, this is the one I was putting in the record frame. That's why I don't have a record in it. I'm not a big fan of giving too much direction for album art. I think like if you have someone doing the art, you should trust them to do their thing to it. And for me, it was perfect because I was like, I thought for the record that just came for Dark Passengers, I kind of, to me, it's like, oh yeah, there's a couple rippers. There's Impossible Task, which is a riff rocker. Mr. Machine to me sounds like Judas Priest or something, but like a lot of the songs like take a long time to develop. It's like the opposite of Protons and Electrons. It almost sounds like The Cure.
I was going to say the sleeve looks like This Mortal Coil.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Where it just kind of like, you know, something comes in, it develops for a long time, then it kind of changes. Then and like that, we hadn't done anything like that musically either. So it was a push musically to like, okay, let's be patient as this develops instead of being like, you know, time to like, all right, come on, let's change it up. And it led to some cool stuff. And that was a hard record for me to write because I you want to get it right. You know, like you don't want to be like, oh, that's the guy that wrote the depression record, but it wasn't very good. So then he wrote another one about it, you know, like,
okay.
And I think it's an important topic. And it's not that I'm disaffected or anything, but it's easier for me to write about like Hannibal Lecter and the world around him, you know, and like that's allegory, sure, but it's like relating real things like imposter complex, like the fact that like I'm manic depressive, stuff like that, like, and putting that into song, and then also trying to like not have it sound depressing, if that makes sense. Like, well, that's I don't know why I do this to myself. That's it was a lot of like, apparently it's impossible for me to do something easily. But I think it's what I wanted it to be. And I think it's I expected more backlash to it, I guess, to a certain degree, because I think people kind of were just expecting like, oh, cool, more riffs, right on. Yeah, a little bit. And then there's some kind of like goth jams too. But for me, that's what it sounds like. I think other people, you know, like there's always like what you think something sounds like when you're in a band versus the listener is always totally different, right? You can be like, oh man, this is crazy, and it's like you're like, oh, it just sounds like you guys.
Yeah. Oh. So, it's for me, it's once it's left your hands, it's not your job to say what it is anymore.
It belongs in the world. I mean, there's probably a lot of people with that last Hey Colossus record that were like, oh, it's wow, it just sounds like Hey Colossus. And like, meanwhile, you guys are like, we just did this crazy psych, you know, live at Pompeii thing or whatever. And like, they don't hear that.
No, exactly. Just another album. I prefer your earlier stuff.
Yeah, I like the heavier stuff better. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for the words.
Yeah, just took a million hours. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No big deal. Yeah, all right.
But yeah,
when I've totally gotten to like, well, I still think your best records are to Murder. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. You
know, I love that one too, but guess what? We're going to continue to do stuff and we're going to continue to make stuff. And
yeah,
if you give it a fair shot, I think that's a nice thing to add. I always do that with bands I like, you know, sometimes it's like, was not so into that one. But
Yeah.
good on them. I get what they were going with it, or I get that they were trying something different or whatever, Anahata by Juno 44. Wasn't a big fan of that record when it came out.
I love that record.
Now I like it. Now I like it a lot. But at the time I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, where's Sharks and Sailors Part 3?
Ah man, no, that's the record I listen to now. If I have to listen to a Juno 44 record, that's the one.
Well, and that's sometimes that comes with time, right? Like when you're the you of later, you'll find something there that wasn't there. So what I say to people that are just like, but Art of Murder is the one. I'm like, yeah, I like that record quite a bit, but maybe you'll find something in Dark Passengers later on that will connect with you when it's time for it to connect. Or maybe you won't, or maybe you'll never listen to it. Who the hell knows? Who cares?
Yeah.
It's a minor miracle anybody finds anything at all, right? But,
yeah, where do you find that though? That people don't give things much of a chance nowadays.
I think that's the culture. That's the culture that we've created, which is that you get one halfway inattentive sort of listen to something, and then it's on to the next thing. Yeah. And I've moved completely in the opposite direction of that, which is well, except for Protons and Electrons, which is totally designed for that. But there's so much information packed in it that like the average human being is like, whoa, that's a lot. let me know when the thing is the thing. I'm like, all right.
Who's
if Radiohead did it, it would have been a big deal. Everyone would be like, oh, it's so genius, it's so great, so bold.
Who's that like pop punk band? Did they have an album or a song called "Don't Bore Us, Get to the Chorus"?
Oh yeah. Totally. Well, and that's like the Protons and Electron aesthetic, right? So and that's great fun as well. And I feel like like as a songwriter, oh yeah, I feel like I got I got better thinking about that. Yeah, well, you see, really, it's all about the process. I feel like that made me better and more cognizant of certain things. Like I was more aware of certain things, and it wasn't like I was unaware before, but you can be aware of something academically, and the act of doing it hits differently. It just hits differently. And I think that I mean, some of the Protons and Electrons stuff, like that's some of my favorite stuff that this band's ever done, or that I've ever done any band. Yeah. And some of them, it's like that song is pretty good. I'm glad it exists. Never gonna play it live. Don't think about it ever. And then some people will be like, oh, I love that one. Adam, whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, that one. It's all right. Yeah, thanks.
We've got songs that we've only ever literally played once when we recorded them.
Yeah. Crazy, right? Because if you think about what you're at like 20 years ago, right? That would sound insane. Yeah. That would sound insane. Like because with Replicator stuff, man, we would have toured those songs like around the entire United States of America like 3 or 4 times before recording them. Yeah. And they would just, and it would be great because when we recorded, I was like, oh, that's, obviously it's tight as hell because it's well known. Now it's like, what you hear in the record, second or third time playing it through, probably, which is crazy because then it gives an energy that's different. And it only works because everyone's such a badass. Everyone's like, everyone does the work and you don't have to worry about, oh, well, I really need to have some whiskey so I can do vocals. No, I'm just going to be able to do vocals. It's fine.
Yeah. It's that label Stiff. There was a UK label Stiff, right?
Of course. Yeah.
I'm under the impression that all the early 7 inches of theirs were recorded and then sped up slightly.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Have you read the Unfaithful Music and Disappearing Ink Elvis Costello book?
Oh, no, I haven't. No.
You don't. First of all, you don't even need to really like Elvis Costello to enjoy this book, but it's very interesting in its presentation. I'll put it this way: I liked certain Elvis Costello records and songs quite a bit, and there's whole epochs of time that it's not for me. It's not for me. It's a charitable way I can put that, but it made for a compelling read the entire way through the stuff I didn't care for. Like, okay, he's fucking around with Burt Bacharach. Okay, well, it's great. Let's hear about that. Where I'm going with this is that like the sort of window into that time period, like the classic Stiff Records time period and stuff like that was pretty interesting. And it wouldn't, like you saying that wouldn't surprise me based upon like what I read in that Elvis Costello book of just being like, oh yeah. I can maybe somebody had like a theory of like, oh no, kids like it. Or no, the machine was only calibrated, it was supposed to be at 30 and it was actually at 32.
Well, this is it. I was wondering, like, obviously it's like
because there's just one machine that all these bands were doing, like they're all using the same one.
But
I don't know.
It goes with what you're saying though, that if you write a song and then you tour it for a year, it's going to go from whatever 100 BPM to 120 BPM by the end of the year, won't it? Because you end up just playing it faster and better. You listen to that first You listen to that first New Bomb Turks record, right?
Yeah.
An absolute classic. They would have toured that to hell. You can tell because it shreds the whole way through.
They're just like pop, 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 pop. There's that one Queens of the Stone Age live record where I always say like it sounds like somebody thought they had the oven on and they needed to hurry back and turn it off because they're just like
you've left the iron on.
yeah. Quick, we gotta get through it real quick. Come on, we gotta go. And it's great, but it's like, holy shit, slow down, dudes. Where's the fire?
And then I kind of want to talk about Rainer.
Yeah.
Learning Curve Records. Okay, so Rainer runs Learning Curve Records. Did that Dark Passengers Secret Friends record. Done one Colossus record, one Henry Blacker record, did our first album. And is a decent fella. Okay, so this t-shirt here is
Caterwaul Society.
I don't know if anyone can read it, it's backwards, but I've also got the CD that came with it.
I'm glad you have it because I have some, but they're across the room, so it would be really awkward for me to go and get them.
So it can and who put this shit together then?
Well, who's the responsible party here? So that was me. I put that together, and that was because our pal Rainier was he was having a rough go of things medically, and it was like his life was in peril basically with having a heart stint. And so this is based around our festival that exists largely as an idea, Caterwaul, that was meant to happen May of 2020. Of course, something else happened. And but we have plans of convening it in May of 2022. So that's called Caterwaul. So this is the Caterwaul Society is the name of this compilation. And there was some art by Tom Hazelmyer, who's of course got a very striking visual style. Anytime you have like a crucified Astro Boy goat, it's going to be a winner with the parents for sure.
The nail through the hand.
But everybody just kind of pitched in to show the love for a dude that gives way more than he gets. Is probably the best way to put it. Like a really nice man who puts it all on the line for these weirdo bands that you're not doing it for glory and praise. You're doing it for, lack of a better term, love of the game.
Yeah, and if you're gonna release records by Gay Witch Abortion,
exactly. It's not exactly a recipe for success. Let's be clear. And so this was an opportunity for us bands to kind of show our appreciation. And in a lot of cases, these are exclusive tracks. Not always, but the point is to like put together a show of I was gonna say show of force. It's not what it is. A show of love to somebody that has shown nothing but love to a bunch of freaks, nerds, and weirdos. And had it been a different dude with more business acumen, it probably would have made more money. But
so here's the thing. I bought this t-shirt from like the Bandcamp page or however I did it. And I swear it was so agonizingly cheap.
I know.
That Rainer, like there was a mistake in the postage, right?
Yeah, as a fundraiser, there were certain mistakes made in haste that made it less effective. It also happened to coincide with the massive uptick in overseas postage.
Yeah, right.
That just like punch in the balls, additional punch in the balls. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's not that I'm bad with money necessarily, or anything along those lines, but there's definitely times that being an army of one has its disadvantages.
Yeah.
So it could have been more effective as a fundraiser, but I think as an expression of like, hey, we think this dude is badass. Here's a bunch of badass shit. And also, I guess it's not for me to say. I think it's a very good compilation. I think you can listen to the whole thing beginning to end and be like, that was very good. I found a couple new bands, you know?
Yeah, there's I can't really count them. Got to be 20 on there.
Yeah.
And
It's long. It's a long compilation, but also look at all your compilations from the 90s. They're longer. We got 72 minutes. Holy crap. Let's fill up every available second.
Yeah. So do you mind talking about household gods?
Yeah, absolutely.
You
I
can-
think I even have. Do you have a copy of the record?
I do not. I was what I was going to do was hold up just a couple of relevant ones. I was going to hold up. See if people can,
I actually have
see if people
copy
can
right
guess who. See if people can guess who is in that band from this record here, which is an absolute classic. I don't know if anyone can.
pretty
see it.
good.
Absolutely love this album. This is Puppet M. Live from a shark cage.
Brilliant, Papa M.
Oh man, it's all stuck together. Look at this. It's a really good use of the inner of a gatefold here.
Oh yeah.
And this is just because it's ripped, because for some reason it's stuck together, but I don't care.
It's a bold statement.
Yeah, and there you go. This is what I've got, a whole pile of these boxes because I just love these boxes that Newman put out.
Box set, which is brilliant.
Awesome. So, talk to me about household gods.
Sure. So, and I just ripped open one of my band copies, which is now probably no longer saleable, so just for the purposes of checking it out. But this is the record. It's called Palace Intrigue. It's the front cover. That is the back cover, and then the gatefold has got Lauren K. Newman. And yeah, this is it's Grade A Records. Here's what this outfit looks like. There's a very clever little pastiche of pictures in here. Again, brilliant artwork by Chris Williams. And then this is, there's not that many of these left, but this is the first pressing. It's uncolored vinyl. It's very, very beautiful. And if I do say so myself.
Here's the thing then. I'll when this is finished, I'll buy a copy, and I want that copy.
And I'll send you this one.
Right, yeah,
It's already open.
I've made you open it, so I'll buy it.
Yeah. Okay. So Household Gods, Dave Pajo, Slint, Papa M, 75 million other bands. Dead Child, Swan.
Yeah.
So on and so on and so on. Vern Rumsey of the Genius Unwound, a band that shaped my adulthood and life path, basically. One of my favorite bands of all time. Lauren K. Newman, Palo Verde, LKN band, one of the great unsung heroes of the Pacific Northwest. Also, a lot of people don't know this. She pinch it. Do you remember the band Bellini when Damon Che left the band mid-tour and took the van and everything? Do you remember this?
Oh, go on. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a band Bellini. It's folks from Museda, and Damon Che was playing drums.
I have a feeling that the bass player. What's the bass player's name in that band? Matthew.
It escaped me. Anyway, the point of the story is that Damon Che left the band mid-tour, and so they kind of scrambled to have different people play drums, like learn a set and can do, because they came from Italy. I mean, they're already here, you know. LKN actually filled in for Damon Che. Like she filled in for drums, and not for the whole tour, but like for a few shows. And so that should give you the idea of the level of talent that she was. Serious. And also not just a drummer, but a guitar player as well. So arguably either myself or her are the least well-known of the four of us, depending on who you talk to. But she was just an incredible talent. just like a monster on any instrument she played. And so, and unfortunately I have to use the past tense there because she did pass away, and that is upsetting. That's something that she was too young and had too much awesome music left in her to have that happen. So that's, life is rarely fair. Life is often very sad, but this is, you know, she got to shine in a way that people would pay attention beyond, you know, people that exist in Portland or that know from her limited audience of bands. She was always a superstar, always. And it's heavy. So the record's dedicated to her. Of course, the other elephant in the room is that August of last year that Vern passed as well. Again, too young.
Yeah.
And that's a little more complicated. I will say at least Vern got to see the record kind of getting out into the world and people's reaction to it. And he had a lot of plans for the future that he wanted to enact and things along those lines. And it was good because he's, what I mean, one of the best bass players of all time. From my perspective. And we would, like in Replicator, we'd always stay with him in Olympia, and we always were playing Olympia. Sometimes to my chagrin, because Olympia is very ambivalent about music, which becomes a surprise to people that haven't been there. But just the best dude too, like best dude award winner, as well as just a monster. So everyone's like, and obviously Pajo goes without saying. Pajo's a freaking musical genius and just a hell of a sweet guy and awesome. And then there's me coming in, you know, bringing the grading curve down, you know, doing my thing. But for people like not coming in with their legacies and their discographies in tow, but just getting together to do something for the sake of doing it. And everybody was in a different place in their life, but basically the idea was to forget all the nonsense that comes with, you know, being in a band, putting out records, like, you know, whatever. And in some cases, people being indie rock famous or whatever, put all that aside and just make something cool. And we wrote all those songs on site. Nobody really brought anything in ahead of time. There was nobody master planning any of that stuff. It basically was a full-on duocracy. A lot of times we'd be like arranging the songs like the night before at the kitchen table, but like, oh, Christ, I better write some songs quick, you know. There's two songs that I'm not gonna say which ones, but two of them, the vast majority of which were written before everyone else in the house woke up, because it's like, well, nothing else to do, I guess sit here and see if I can come up with something cool. And that ended up being like, you know, the foundation for two of the songs on the record. And you know, it's kind of all over the place. Like some of it's more like spacious and weird and crazy, and I guess post-rocky. Some of it's more straightforward. People might have opinions on what that means or who came from what, but they would be wrong. But the point was not to put constraints on it, not to like try to make a thing. We weren't like, we're gonna make a record and tour the world and it's a super group and this and that. It was forget all that. The place we did it at, Joshua Tree, is Rancho de la Luna, home of the Desert Sessions, that brilliant post-pop depression Iggy Pop record. So many great records, and just a great place to just, I mean, you are away from it all. You're there ain't nothing around you. There's no distraction, so it's a perfect opportunity to do that. And you know, we got together and we made something kind of cool and special, and it's unfortunately marred by tragedy, but I think it's an interesting record. And you know, Vern always said, imagine if we had time to write some songs ahead of time, and I was like, yeah, that's a good point. But it's what, you know, we all had to kind of let go a little bit and be like, well, it's just going to be like, look, there isn't time to overthink this. We need to just do this. And that led to some interesting arrangement decisions that led to some, I don't know, I think it's cool. I think it's a cool record. It's unlike any record I've ever made.
How long were you in the studio for? How long did you have it booked for?
I think it was 5 days total, if I remember correctly. And like I was coming through like from Milwaukee down to Los Angeles to actually record Dark Passengers, or the first session for that anyway. And Vern was coming down from Seattle and going towards Arizona. Like everyone's kind of like it was this confluence of everybody being in the the quote unquote the right place in the right time. And I don't know. I mean, it wasn't, there was no master plan to make anything beyond music.
You met at the crossroads.
Yeah, and I could get into the detail. I mean, it's everyone kind of would have their own story to tell for like what their path was and what they were trying to get out of it. But everybody kind of had a thing they needed to get past or get to.
Yeah.
And we all did it, the thing that just breaks my heart is that Lauren didn't get to see it finished. She didn't get to see it like with like the album art and everything along those lines. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that in bands, you have to have someone that's kind of like, all right, everybody, come on, we're getting together, we're doing the thing, we're gonna go, we need this, they need, the label needs it by this time, we need this for, and nobody really did that in this outfit. And I certainly didn't feel comfortable asserting myself at first. And then like later on, everyone's like, oh, we thought you were gonna take care of that. I'm like, you could have told me.
Have you always found yourself to be like the organizer?
Yeah, and that's, but play to your strengths, right? Despite my assertion with the benefit of being absolutely crap at certain things sometimes, I'm generally pretty good at it. And I think the problem also is that when you have a group of people that as a group haven't had to think about that kind of stuff, everyone's kind of like, oh, well, I don't know, this and that. So anyway, the point of fact that Household Gods could have been out into the world a lot sooner if we just established that ahead of time. So but again, the problem was, it wasn't like we were trying to do a thing like, hey, we're going to have this band that tours the world. It was like, let's just make some music and see what happens.
Yeah. So the band, Household Gods, the album, Palace Intrigue.
Yep.
The label
is Grade A Productions, which is a Portland label. Todd put out all of, not all of, but a lot of Lauren's albums, and which are all really great. People should check them out. Like really just like amazing shit. And like she has like, there's more shredder stuff, but there's more song-based stuff too. Palo Verde's amazing too. Anyone that ever saw her play, whether it was on guitar or drums, was just like, damn. Like she was a fucking titan.
Yeah, well,
and a warrior. And it's I don't want, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what that is. And
yeah.
Sorry, that's like a 20-minute exposition, but it's
no. I wanted to talk about that record, so that's really interesting.
No, I'm happy to, and I'm trying to do is focus on the not the tragedy, right? I try to focus on the fact that just this cool thing happened, and not to switch to passive voice. Obviously, it took the actions of people for a thing to happen, but like the whole point of it was just forget all the nonsense.
Yeah, and it's recorded.
So, I mean, exactly.
This is awesome. So. Okay, let's talk about your records then. So I send a list of shit to people.
You did.
Everyone knows now what happens. Yes. Hit me with a record from your favorite record shop.
You bet. So let me get down here. Move some of the stuff around. Yeah, I arranged the stuff ahead of time and then moved it everything. Jackass.
We can look at your guitars while you're bent down there.
I was going to say the worst thing to look at, I guess. No. Put it over here. Maybe put it over here. Balls to the balls, I think.
What's the one on the left with the? What's the one on the left with the R sticker?
Which one? Oh, this here. It's not the replicator sticker. That's a Tysco Del Rey shark fin. So plastic surf guitar. You hit the wang bar, it goes out of tune immediately, like that kind of situation.
You have Tesco, the supermarket in America.
Yeah. So there's Tesco and there's Tesco. So add
Yeah.
the I, and it's boutique guitars basically.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So this is,
Of course,
Raw Power. Iggy and the Stooges. Not actually my favorite Stooges record. My favorite is Funhouse, but this one is a close second.
Yeah.
And this one, there you go. Oh, gee. Oh, it's a picture disc too. Yeah, I feel like, have you shown this one before? I feel like you might have seen
certainly, but I knew you were going to mention the Stooges.
Yeah. I mean, you've met me, right? Yeah. So, and this is from Amoeba in Berkeley, which
nice.
Before there was an LA Amoeba, before there was a San Francisco Amoeba, it started as the one in Berkeley. And I used to work up the street at the third or fourth coolest record store out of four, Tower Records.
Yeah.
But I would always get my records at Amoeba because Amoeba had the stuff that I cared about, whereas Tower is more interested in top 40 and things along those lines. As a record store, it was a fine minimum wage job. So yeah, I mean, what's there to say? This is just this is like a player copy of the Columbia pressing. It's one of my favorite rock records of all time, as far as like flat out rock, no adjective.
Yeah,
one of the best rock bands of all time. I mean, and the fact that I had James Williamson on the show, kind of a mind blower. That's kind of like, okay. So that was one that I was, what is it? Screaming Inside Your Heart. Is that what the Japanese translation of the roller coaster? No loud noises, please scream inside your heart. Familiar with this? Anyway, I was screaming inside my heart during that whole one. Yeah, Search and Destroy, Give Me Danger, Pretty Faces Going to Hell, Penetration. This is the Bowie mix. This isn't the remix version that Iggy did, where everything is just cranked. Which is the most ridiculous record of all time, because it's just brick wall, like the waveform is just a candy bar.
Yeah.
Like there's no dynamic range whatsoever.
There's correct me if I'm wrong, there's this brilliant story where Iggy sends the tracks to David Bowie to mix, and David Bowie just writes back and says whatever, James, whatever, there's only like 2 tracks here. What am I supposed to do? It's like like 2.
Yeah. It's well, and it's, I think that if you were to do a class of some kind of how a record can be the same but also different, would be to study the Iggy Raw Power versus the Bowie Raw Power. And for me, there's certain things that are in the Iggy mix I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting, and it's more like, okay, that's probably what seeing the Stooges was actually like, where it's more just like, right in the face. But as a musical listening experience, I think the Bowie mix is that's mine. So
yeah, there's a bit on either on that one or those Stooges records where a guitar solo comes in and it's so obviously ridiculously loud.
Yeah, it's just like it's teleported in from Neptune suddenly. Yeah. It's like, oh my god. Yeah, it's just like you have to think that there are maybe recreational drugs being involved. Like, yeah, turn that all the way up. Yeah, does it go any higher?
But
sounds good.
How influential has that mixing blunder / excellence become? It's like we used it on the last record we did. There's a bit on Trembling Rose about 15 minutes in, if you ever get a chance to listen.
I know the exact part you're talking about. I was listening to it yesterday, actually.
That's lifted directly from the...
you know what? And as an aesthetic effect, it totally works. It does the thing that, and at the time, if you have any reasonable sense of aesthetics, you're like, oh my Jesus Christ, what are you doing? But then like you listen to this listener, like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
And we all have We all have these fellas going totally in the red the whole time to thank for it. I somehow got a copy of this for $10 too. That blows my mind because Stooges were, even before the resurgence, Stooges were very well known in the Bay Area. So like when I saw this at Amoeba, I was like, boom, getting that.
Yeah. So if you say Towers was the fourth coolest record shop?
Yeah, out of 4.
And the other three,
so there was
2, or
it was Leopold's. So Leopold's, Amoeba, Rasputin, Tower is how I would rate them. And technically later there was Maud Lang, but yeah, I did not work at the Cool record store.
It's all right, isn't it? You'd have only spent more money in there if you would have, I'm sure.
Yeah. That's the thing, is I never had to worry about spending money in my store because we carried crap. But I got to listen to stuff for free, so that like kind of led me to discover, oh, hey, there's some country that I really like a lot that isn't total trash.
Right.
Hey, there's some jazz I really like a lot. That's awesome. Oh, there's this band called Arch of Love. What a dumb name. What does this sound like?
Awesome.
You know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, wow, okay, they justify the bad name. All right.
Yeah. How good is Icky Metal?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so there was a friend I worked at the Tower, really cute girl actually, but like our musical tastes were like 2 circles that do not overlap, except for the fact she was like, oh, I think you'd like Arches of Loaf. I'm like, that name blows, no way. And then I listened to it, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like, how are those guitars? It's like, oh god, it's like they're doing Sonic Youth stuff, but like it kind of hits different. Like, this is crazy. So yeah, I'll praise to her, because you normally like just like indie, and like by indie I mean, so this would have been like what, 95. You know, like just sensitive shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, anybody had a question about like sensitive voice with guitars, hand it over to her. Loud guitars and Freak Factor 9 stuff, that was my department.
Were you a buyer at Tower?
No, I was just the worker bee, but I was very opinionated, which is being when you're working at a record store, that's one of the only places that actually helps.
Yeah, enormously judgmental.
Yeah, exactly. Well, especially then. I mean, Christ, I was like 17, so I was like, ugh, you know. I'm like, what? I'm like, nothing. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Anyway, it's $8.50. You know,
it's one of those things as well where like you judge everyone for the crap records they're buying. Plus, if they buy records that you do like, they're 6 months late on it.
Yeah. Oh, you're just getting to that now, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Really? What? Bleach by Nirvana? No.
I will say I was never that bad. I was always I always, for the most part, kind of tried to be like, oh, I like this one a lot. You're in for a good time. This is a good record. I hope you're like, I was excited for the experience of someone discovering something new, even in my most judgmental, like, asshole punk rocker phase, which I was. I mean, let's be clear. But then, yeah, someone comes up with an Action Park. I'm like, oh man, that's my favorite record that came out this year. Hell yeah, you're gonna love this.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're quite a positive fella then, quite clearly.
yeah, and I'd also do like disreputable things, like I had a Pretty Girl discount, that I would give.
Let's move on. Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say statute of limitations has passed from that. So, 17-year-old boy shit. Yeah. Yeah, enough. Stop talking. Stop digging. You're already in a hole.
Record with memories.
So I have 2 answers for this. One's gonna seem like a cop out. Cool. The Melvins, Stoner Witch, which I actually picked up the Atlantic reissues that are beautiful. Oops. Yeah. And you can thank one Jack White for helping make that happen. So for all of his malarkey, he has allowed for this beautiful pressings of the Melvin's Atlantic records, which are nice heavy grade vinyl, gorgeously presented. I had this on CD for forever. I had it on tape.
Yeah.
cassette tape, but I never owned it on vinyl, and it's something where it was important for me to have that. So when that happened, again, thank you, Jack White. Kind of had to get it because this is one of the ones that kind of there's a small selection of records from around that time sort of changed my world, kind of kicked my world in when I was in high school, and this is one of them. And later on, I would dig deeper into weird music, but like before I ever got any Fugazi, I was just kind of getting into Sonic Youth. I mean, you can draw a through line to like, who did Nirvana like? Yeah. And that was like my discovery process, because I had cool hippie parents that had like a great record collection. So I knew from Sabbath and like Neil Young and Led Zeppelin and all that, but it wasn't until I heard Nirvana that kind of changed my world. And so the fact that like Kurt gave so much praise to Melvins was like, well, I gotta check out Melvins then. And what a great record. I mean, that whole side one, all the way to Revolve, those first 4 songs, it was just almost like a suite. Like it's difficult to not listen to the whole thing, because they're so artfully sequenced. That's just nonstop, because you got like Queen, then you got Sweet Willie Rollbar, they go straight into Revolve, and then it brings things down to like Goose Freight Train. Like, great record, really, really great record. Sticks with me. One of my favorites of theirs. I would say top 3 Melvins records. I would say this one, Bullhead, and Senile Animal.
Yeah,
those are my 3.
Yeah, I thought I would have the Bullhead one there just because.
Yeah. I almost pulled the Bullhead. Okay, cool. So you have the Boner Records. So I have the Boner Records reissue that also has, I think, Ozma as well. Like it's like both records together.
That's what I was saying earlier on Tupelo as well. In this country.
That's there you go. So I almost pulled that one, but that would be disingenuous because I didn't get into Bullhead and the Boner stuff until the Boner stuff.
Yikes.
And until I moved to Oakland. So that was like a bit later. So it would be disingenuous, even though I have great memories with that. I think it's important to note that like this is one of the first like weird records I really got into. And let's also point out this was on Atlantic Records.
I know, right?
As was Stag, which is maybe one of the weirdest records of the 90s. And it's like wow, that had a major label budget. That's insane.
Yeah. You're right about Senile Animal though. Senile Animal was a monster.
Oh yeah, and that was just like, I mean, and Jared and Cody, especially with the Whip, but especially with early Big Business, we played a lot of shows with them, and just genius band. And like when that happened, I was like, oh my god, how? That's like Reese's peanut butter cups, chocolate and peanut butter. Let's, oh my god, fantastic.
Yeah.
So lovely. So my safety / backup was The Birthday Party, Prayers on Fire. Which this is Drastic Plastic. So this is not the original pressing I had. Also, I clearly wasn't that on it because it's number 456 of 500. But that said, it's because my other copy basically got worn the fuck out. That's later on when I worked at Tower, my first hearing of The Birthday Party was sort of like, oh, wow. And to me, I didn't even realize at the time that was like, oh, this is that old? This is like record's almost as old as I am. Christ. Big deal record. And everyone kind of gravitates towards Junkyard, which is genius. But I think as a record, Prayers on Fire is my favorite.
Yeah. And so you mentioned Tracy Pugh's bass playing earlier.
Yes.
You were talking about Tony from Secret Friends, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's unabashed Tracy Pugh fan as well. Who can not be? Like if you like that lumbering kind of like, do you like the Jesus Lizard? But you better give props to The Birthday Party because so did David Sims,
Yeah, no. When you listen back, when you spot the timeline through it all, it's quite interesting.
And just having that grinding, I mean, God. So, and then for me, Roland's guitar playing is just, into this day is on another level of just like, wow, what is going on? Like those bands. Why does that sound like that?
Those bands from that era, because I sort of have like Killing Joke as well, the early Killing Joke stuff. The guitar playing on it is just not playing what everyone else. It's just
Yeah.
More gnarly somewhere, like just tucking into it in a different way.
And like the sort of like the jazz chorus kind of like, you're like, oh wow, that's an interesting, like Wire's same kind of situation as well. I mean, a little more purposely Neanderthal in some cases for songwriting structure. But I mean, you think of these innovators, Andy Gill, right? You brought up Gang of Four earlier, of just like, where the frack did that come from? That's it's great. And then what hast thou wrought? Well, lots of great music, some not so great music too, but the record still pops. Like I love Junkyard. I don't like listening to Junkyard. Junkyard is like the Iggy raw power. It's just painful to listen to, and that's the point. That's the point. So like when I throw it on, it's like it has to be an attentive listen, but it's almost kind of like a afterwards you're like, okay, all right, okay. Which is, I mean, there's something to be said for records like that. But I think that as a record to throw on to listen to, I far favor Prayers on
Fire. Bargain find.
Bargain find. Yes. Here is The Who, live at Leeds. You can see here,
$500. $5.
$5, and it also says fair, as in fair condition. Let me show you what fair condition is, by the way. This is not my doing. So here it is. I don't have the other one. This is how the sleeve came. This is not my doing. That's so they considered fair condition a ripped sleeve. So Who live at Leeds. The record itself is fine. Record's pristine.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, fair. I don't care about the sleeve. Who gives a fuck about the sleeve? And also, like, as far as artwork goes, you know, brilliant. But okay, what's the only thing that's bad about this? Well, there's like some who's Hearst? I don't know. Maybe whoever owned the record. Yeah. Like William Randolph Hearst? I don't know.
It was owned by someone who brought it to parties in the 70s.
Yeah, and he wanted to write his record to make sure he got it back afterwards. Yeah. So if that gets me this for $5, fantastic. Yeah. Because this is I feel like this is one of the great all-time live records. And I actually kind of love the minimalist design of just like, look, here it is. It's The Who. It's live at Leeds.
I have a feeling
something else
bootleg vibe, isn't it? That's what they've gone for.
Yeah, and that's it's great. And again, for $5, like I was like, hell yes, I will give a copy of Who live at Leeds for $5, fair or not. And I just assumed that it was like the record was going to be compromised. It's fine. It's the sleeve, which I guess I could have swapped that with a white sleeve, but I'm like, nah, it's got the, you know, it's got the look.
It's definitely got the look. Yeah,
adds to it for me.
It's like Keith Moon's been playing it.
Right, exactly. Well, and just that's a band at the height of its power. Which I as much as I like the Who's records, I feel like they were like a singles band or a live. I mean, if you ever look at the when they do a quick one Wise Away at the Rock and Roll Circus, the Rolling Stones thing, it's very clear why they didn't allow that footage to be released for forever, because they basically blow the Stones out of the water.
Right.
Like, it's not even. It's fucking ridiculous. Like I'll send you the YouTube clip. Like it's worth watching. I would say it's worth watching even if you're not a Who fan, because it's a band at the height of their power, just tearing the place apart. And like this is ostensibly like the Rolling Stones deal, and they were like, oh, I think we just got shown the fuck up.
Is it Mark Lanegan says that once there was is it Screaming Trees or Mark Lanegan solo? Must have been Screaming Trees, it would have been the early 90s, had Rage Against the Machine supporting, and said that he would never do anything like that ever again. Like, because the bands you can't go on after.
Yeah, like, because you're like, what happens after this? Well, nothing happens after this, because like everyone's done. Like, it's sort of like, so very different, but that's like what it's like playing with Reptoid, which I don't know if you're familiar with Reptoid over there. Actually, crap, I might have. But your label mates, because they're Rainier put out Worship False Gods, which is one of the great records of last year. Here we are. So this is Reptoid, Worship False Gods. This is my business model, by the way.
Burning cash, charity.
Exactly. Learning Curve Records. And great Great Gatefold.
Oh yeah.
But Reptoid is one guy / alien, Jordan Sobolo. And it's sort of like, think of bands like, oh, and also the vinyl's genius. Let me show that as well. But it's a green glob vinyl, which is something to behold. And the fact that it still works as a record kind of blows my mind, because I don't really know how they do that. It's great. So it's basically an alien invasion as a dude / band. One guy with like drums, sequencing, surrounded by an army of equipment, dressed in full on alien motif. And he does what a band like Lightning Bolt does, but is like one band. And it's not exactly like that either. There's a kind of cop shoot cop elements to it, if you will. But here's the thing. Don't play after Reptoid.
Right, no.
Unless you're the band that everybody is there to see. And like, you know, whatever. And in fact, like if you're a bigger band, have Reptoid play because they'll make you look great. But like, people are done afterwards. Like it's like, oh my god, what just happened? Like what just happened? It's like that kind of experience. So that's the well, that was my excuse to show the Reptoid record, which I think is great.
No,
but also like, as you said, like, you know, the like bands you don't want to follow, right?
Yeah, well, in this kind of, for us, I've mentioned it once before, and I'll mention it again for the hell of it. Is there was a band for a while around here called Drunk in Hell.
Okay.
Who were a kind of brain bombsy, nihilistic noise rock sort of thing with like very caveman repeato riffs.
Sure, yeah.
With like a vocalist who was kind of right in your face a bit, and god damn, we had to follow them once or twice. It's a total nightmare. You can't do it.
That's the kind of thing where you just like, you resolve to do your best, and sometimes you're like, well, can't win them all. Let's go.
and the problem is as much as I love that band, I never loved them when they were on before us. I would be watching them going, oh, please be a power cut. Something happened.
Like, you're praying for a disaster. Exactly.
Yeah, like, no, I don't want anyone hurt, but come on.
I would love to. So you bring up an interesting point. I would love to be operating at a level of engagement and fandom that people come to your shows, like no matter what, and you could bring a band like that with, and know that people would be there to see you play still, like no matter what. And they may or may not be into like what, but you could bring someone that's just gonna kick minds in, and all you have to worry about is being in your own head about it. And also, like, even when you're in a situation like that, I've always found if you just double down on, well, we're doing what we do, they're doing what they do.
Yeah. No.
And even though it seems like it's a competition, this is actually, it's shine theory, right? We all make each other.
Exactly. And it's totally not a competition. And I get that, but you can't help it.
You can't. No. I've, my dude, I have been in this exact situation. I've been like, motherfucker. All right, y'all. So you just had you said here were the Stooges, and all right, who likes the Cars? Everybody, yeah, the Cars. We like songs. Cool. All right.
We have to set ourselves on fire tonight to follow that.
yeah. It's like, all right, we get a fire extinguisher over here, please. Okay, thanks. I think Iggy's blood is over. Can we get a towel maybe for that? All right.
Bought on tour. Record bought
on tour. What a brilliant and uniquely Bismarck presentation this is of the fact that it is being, it's just the white sleeve, white record. Only one of theirs on vinyl. The rest of them are all CDs. It speaks to the Bismarck's credit that they're a genius enough band that they can pull this shit off. Because this is a great record. They're all great. They're incredibly consistent band. If anyone of your listeners has seen the Why Am I Doing This tour documentary, that's Eric's band, and you should. If you're watching this, it's almost certainly your thing, and it's for free on YouTube.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to know what it's like touring in America, it's basically that. Which is to say, not glamorous.
No.
And I love the Bismarck. They've made no bad records. They consistently do cool stuff. For whatever reason, they just are unable to win any respect of any kind by anyone in the US, but they seem to do okay over there. So
yeah, no, they're known here. Yeah. I have you ever played out of the US?
only one tour where we played in Canada, and that was 2019. We played some shows in Canada, in northeastern Canada. My great unfulfilled, I don't know if it's called a dream, but ambition is to play in Europe, play, Australia, Japan, whatever. Just play somewhere that's not I played every inch of this freaking country except for Alaska and Hawaii. Yeah. And in most cases multiple times over, but I've never done like an overseas tour, and that surprises people. Like, even like I remember that we were talking in Dave's kitchen, and like both Vern and Pajo were like, really?
Yeah.
Never? And it was like, no, man. Like we've had like tours booked, and like something went wrong, and it got get canceled or whatever. And
I think that you would love touring mainland Europe. I think
would love that.
The UK is separate, and you'll either like that or not. But mainland Europe is beautiful, because it's, for you especially, it'd be relatively short drives.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
to great cities with excellent venues put on by lovely people. Essentially, UK, like I say, the UK would be different, and I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, UK is different, and I know that, and I want to do UK as well, and there's been discussion of that. But like 2020 was going to be the year.
Yeah.
And not so much.
No. Well,
it doesn't seem like, man, I'm gonna be 44 in December, and I still have never done it, but it's going to happen.
Like, look, here's the thing. I'm older, and I've never played in America. I've been to America once in my life, over 20 years ago now, 23 years ago. Like, never played there, always wanted to, and almost certainly never will. So
play Caterwaul in May of next year. Come out. Yeah, I know a guy. I know two guys.
Well, don't mention it on here, because again we're gonna have to sneak in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. Keep it on the DL.
I'll edit that. That's fine.
Fair enough. Yeah, exactly. It'll happen someday, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, like record that people wouldn't think that you'd be into.
Yeah. So I was talking about my Tower Records experience, and crap, where'd I put it? I was talking about, my friend who only liked the sensitive boy shit, right? The Mountain Goats.
Oh yeah, cool.
The Sunset Tree. I actually am a very big Mountain Goats fan, which is to say that there are records that don't love every song, but I think John Darnielle is a really fascinating songwriter, and really, really interesting to me. Yeah. I think this record is a special work because it's very personal. There's a lot of darkness in his past, and he didn't go allegorical on this one at all. And this is a really cool record. I think every song on here is amazing. I tell people that I'm a big Mountain Goats fan. They're like, what? Really? Because they just think of it as like some twee indie thing. Not true, by the way, but I get it. I get why people would feel that way. And also, John Darnielle's a lot like Marky Smith or something. The fact that, like, well, where do you start with The Fall? I love The Fall. Oh, what era? What records?
Yeah.
In that same way, it's sort of like there's different epochs of time for Mountain Goats, and I think this record is just incredible. Like, every song on it's astounding. I actually have a secret. Well, it's not going to be secret. I'm going to announce it. A secret desire to do an album of Mountain Goats covers that's just rocked out versions. So it's like the same songs, but done like, and I get it. There's like a rock band arrangement when you see them live, but no, not like how I'm considering this. This would be like Secret Friend style. And this would be very much a more or less straightforward reading for some of them. And some of them would be like more reinterpreted. But I just think as songs, they're so well put together that they would work. Like, they would work if just, if it was just John with an acoustic guitar or a piano or something. Yeah. But they also would work as like this maximalist presentation, like Kiss or something, like, and it would also, and might give people a new idea of what the Mountain Goats are, or it might not. I don't know, but I think it would be a fun thing to do.
I've got a couple of Mountain Goats albums, just CDs, and they've got like weird foldy out bits and whatever. And they might even be on 4AD or.
There's this one is 4AD, and I think Merge does a bunch of stuff for Mountain Goats as well.
And so here's the thing, like it's so sitting here on this island and looking at your land, a band like Mountain Goats is just US indie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't think
absolutely.
I don't think of it as being particularly. I can see them playing with Sonic Youth. To me, it's the same sort of thing. Like, it's odd how, like, music from different lands is seen differently by people from other places.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And there's the battle lines are definitely drawn between indie and what in the 90s was known as indie rock versus now this genre war of post-punk and noise rock, et cetera, et cetera. Like, for some reason, there's this divide for, and honestly has a lot to do with Pitchfork Media. I hate to say it, but
okay.
But I agree. I mean, for me, there shouldn't be that big of a divide. But I think Mountain Goats are one of the bands that, like, well, again, I think that there's a lot to love there for people that just like good songs.
Yeah,
and I get it. People are turned off by his voice. I totally get it.
It's like storytelling. I like it. For me, it goes like you can go Mountain Goats, Pavement, Sonic Youth, and very quick steps. Music.
Yeah.
You know, if you like those bands, then you're right in there. So.
I agree, but it's very different circles here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that, and that's the thing. Say with a band like the Bismarck.
Yeah.
How and I've said this previously about Arc Welder is another band who locally are probably dismissed hugely, but maybe you know, or I can only pull 100 people in Chicago or wherever. But the further away they get, the more sort of Arc Welder or like the Bismarck. They become more of a thing the further away you get.
Yeah, and that's Replicator had a bit of that. You know, we were sort of like not really loved at home, sort of like mutually ambivalent, and then other areas of the country they liked us quite a bit and thought of us like we would get bigger shows in Portland, Oregon than we ever got. And we got in the Bay Area. Like it was sort of like they thought of us as like a mid-sized touring band, which we were. Yeah. It's just that like the Bay Area couldn't give a shit.
It's quite hard. I think it's quite hard to shake off like your history in your local town. Like they it is. Like maybe they're like, oh, like there's a Conan. Remember he worked in Tower or whatever.
Yeah. He was the one giving the pretty girl discount. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, now he's in this band and that, whatever. But,
sure. Yeah.
But like, in wherever else, they're like, wow, that band rule. I don't know their history.
Yeah, they only see like a band that's like playing with Rye Coalition and like holding their own, if not,
you're
like doing their own thing.
Fully formed band. Yeah. Without the history.
Yeah.
Yeah, but locally you're the fella in town.
I think there's something to that. And I think that it is psychological, I think, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I agree. Astute observation. Well done.
We're so late on in the conversation, no one's watching now. It's fine. So the final subject I have is favorite 10-inch and your thoughts upon.
Yes. So, Thoughts Detecting Machines. Ooh. An introduction to. This is Rick Valentin from the Poster Children. I need to get into all of the presentation. First of all, it comes with a hand printed old style receipt.
I like it. I really like it.
The presentation is also that it's got a literal operator's manual, as in like the old
it's actually machines. It's actually
the bound. Yeah, like and each of the table of contents has the songs and tells you what page that they're on. This page intentionally left blank. I think that's great. It's literally set up like those old 1960s machinist operators. There's presentations for the lyrics. There's like diagrams and flow charts. I mean, this is like talk about your ostentatious display of presentation. There's a print run book for the song. Like
someone's been looking at the burning money image from that record.
Exactly. I mean, it's it's fucking absurd. And then it comes, and then the record itself
Oh, it looks like
is just like a classic old style, like almost like jukebox looking
it looks
record.
like 78. It looks like a 78.
Yeah, and it's thank you. Yeah, and it's great, and also the whole thing rips. Every one of these songs is amazing. I'm a big fan of Thoughtsy Texting Machines. I think a lot of people, even Poster Children fans, don't know it so well, but this attention to detail, he does it with all of this stuff. And so talk about like, remember it being for the people that it's for.
Yeah.
This is like when this came out, it was like, A, this is brilliant. B, you're putting us all to shame.
Yeah.
Like this is, I mean, the old style, like ka-chunk style receipt. Fucking get out of here, man. Really? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Nice looking record.
So an introduction to Thoughtsy Texting Machines.
Okay, I don't know. That's awesome. Yeah.
It's and this was actually a tougher. I expected this to be an easier category than it was, but I had to go with this. I had to go with this one. Look, it's for the people it's for. I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
And you could just sit here and look at this, and it's genius. It's great.
Nice to own. Nice item.
Yeah, it's a very special record.
There's okay, so we're at the end of what I send. Do you have anything else you want to show or talk about?
I think that's plenty. It's an honor to be on. I enjoy the show. So
man, like brilliant. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. It's yeah, we got there's nothing else really to report right now. There's a bunch of Secret Friends stuff we just tracked, but that's not going to be till, well, who the fuck knows with this vinyl manufacturing. Yeah, just neutronfriends.bandcamp.com, protonic-reversal.com. The Household Gods record, there's a Bandcamp, householdgods.bandcamp.com. The Great Ape production site's terrible. Sorry, Todd. So just go to the Bandcamp if for those. Anything else? Oh yeah, if you want, I think that, so Chaos Control in Europe has some copies, but if you do like the Art of Murder record or just want to check it out, first pressing is almost gone. There's like 6 copies left, so act quickly. Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me, dude.
It's awesome. And definitely go and check out make sure you check out Conan's podcast, because there's some shit there. And like, if you just scroll through it, there's definitely someone you like.
There is indeed some shit there. Protonic-reversal.com and you can also just wherever you get your podcasts. It's also on YouTube. It's Yeah. Sometimes there's video, sometimes there's not. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Depends. If you're speaking to someone who can't get a video working on their computer, then it just screws it all up.
Exactly.
Not speaking about anyone in particular here.
Yeah, that's just a general statement, right?
Yeah.
Joe, thanks so much, dude. It's been a pleasure.
Let's say goodbye. Let's wave. We can say goodbye properly. I'll stop it, and then we'll just quickly say goodbye properly. Nice one. Take it easy.